What's up, guys? This week I've got an exciting video. I've got this brand new Skutt wheel that I will be reviewing, and at the same time I'll be showing you how I throw a 20-pound sectional pot. Okay, got a user manual, some bat pins. I want to read this. Oh. Yeah, that's a wheel head. Okay. Just need to get all this cardboard out of here to get this thing set up. Okay, so let's get a wheel head on here. Look at that. So smooth. This video is proudly sponsored by Clay King. I trust them with everything. They have the fastest shipping I've ever experienced. You can literally make an order and it ships within 2 hours of making it. You could furnish an entire pottery studio from their website. Everything from bat pins to a brand new kiln, they have it. And they have it at the most affordable prices. I do have a code that you can use if you decide to order from their website. I'll link it in the description down below. It's BWC Pottery, and you can get $5 to $10 off of your order. And back to the pottery. So we're gonna be making a 20-pound sectional pot. I'm gonna throw two 10-pound bowls and combine them. This is a really efficient way to get a light pot and get the most out of your clay without having to reach your arm all the way down to the bottom. With any large amount of clay, I start by doing a little smack centering, and once I've got it somewhat centered, I'll throw some water on it and then do our regular coning up and down. A huge benefit of this Skutt wheel is the precision of the speed to the pedal. It is a 1-to-1 ratio, so there's no lag in that response. This is really helpful for big pots like this. For this first half of the pot, this will be the top, so I'm going to punch my fingers through all the way to the wheel head. It's going to have a hollow bottom, that way when I flip it over, I have something that I can just stick my arm into, and I don't have to cut off too much of the pot. When I'm throwing with this much clay, for my first pull, I'm not going for any sort of height. I'm not trying to get the most out of the clay. I'm just trying to even out these walls and get that thick top portion of the donut even with that bottom portion. I'll give it a light cone in because I will do 2 more pulls and I don't want this thing to go too wide, but I am keeping in mind that it's going to be a bowl shape, so I'm not worried about keeping the top extremely towards the center. You'll see some major twitching coming from the mustache. That is because I am extremely focused and it's involuntary. I don't know why I do that. I've just always done it. I do it when I write. I do it when I read. I used to be really self-conscious about it, but now I just roll with it. Now I can move on to the shaping portion, and I will come in with my metal rib so I can compress the clay and remove all that slip from the outside, and at the same time strengthen it so it's not going to flop over or go anywhere. The whole time I'm shaping out this first bowl, I'm trying to think about what it's going to take for these 2 halves to make a sphere. I think the most challenging part of making these sectional jars is making 2 identical top and bottom pieces. So our first half is done. I'm happy with this bowl. I'm going to measure out the top with my calipers, that way when I go and throw the bottom, I know how wide to make it. We'll use our handy torch here just to stiffen up the clay. And that's just to help firm it up, that way when I move it off the wheel it doesn't bend or warp. Alright, 1 down, 1 to go. Basically just repeat all those steps that went into the first one. Before I even got this wheel, I knew my favorite part was going to be the removable wheel head. You can just pop it off and it makes cleaning up such a breeze. This thing is so deep, I don't think you should ever have to worry about filling it up with water while you're throwing. I have the same mentality while I'm cooking. I like to clean as I go, and with this wheel head, it is a breeze. So much like the first part of this video, we're going to be throwing an identical section, except this will be our bottom portion. The difference with this one is that I'm not punching all the way through the bottom because I need to have a foot. So much of pottery is muscle memory, and I try to just retain all of those movements that I made to get my first half to get my second half. It's also important to remember you're literally going to be stacking a 10-pound pot on top of this. I want my walls to be even and thin, but I don't want them too thin that the whole pot crumbles as soon as I place that top portion on it. So we've got our height and our width established. Now I can go back in with a rib and strengthen those walls and remove the slip. Using my measurement from the first pot for the second, and make sure we're right there on point. I've always used a tongue and groove method for these sectional pots. I'll place my finger on the top rim and create that concave section. And after a little torch magic and a full day of drying, these pots are at the leather hard stage, but still sort of soft, and I'm going to attach them. I make sure to score and slip these super well because I want that attachment to be as secure as possible. Now the scariest part of all, the old up and over, and then I'll gently place it on top of my other pot, doing my best to line them up perfectly. I'll give it a spin and make sure it's as centered as it can be. If it's not, just lift it up a little bit again and move it as needed. I'll use a needle tool to create a little groove between the bat and the bottom of the piece, and then I can slide my wire through. It's very important not to wire this pot off after you throw it, because you need it attached to give it the flip over. And once the back comes off, you can see that middle portion is hollow, and it did me a lot of favors because now I can just stick my hand inside it and continue to attach these and throw. I'm using a little rib right here to smooth out that join, and then I go back over it with my finger to make sure it's really secure. This top lip is usually on the thicker side, so I'll come back in with a needle tool and remove as much clay as I need to, and then I'll go back in with my inside hand, using my sponge to wet the inside surface. I let these dry out to the leather hard stage. I'm in a basement, so it's really a good controlled drying environment. I want these to be on the firmer side so they don't collapse when I attach them, and I'm constantly adding water back to it to get it to a workable state. The rest of the process, I'm basically trying to make these two sections look like one uniform pot. I don't want there to be a clear distinction where the middle lies. I want them to just have one steady curve. And that takes a lot of going back and forth of shaping and pulling and removing some clay and adding a little bit of clay if you need to. I'm really liking how this pot is turning out so far. It almost looks like it wants to be a jar, so I'm trying to even out that top rim as clean as I possibly can in case I want to add a lid later on. I'll roll over my rim just to thicken it up a little bit. I think one of the hardest parts about throwing a big pot like this is being able to control the speed and rely on a wheel that doesn't jerk at a low speed, and this wheel provided all that and so much more. I never had to worry about the motor bogging down because it's so powerful, and the precision of the pedal to the speed ratio is 1-to-1, and it just made it smooth and effortless. I have to give a special shout out again to Clay King Ceramics for making these pottery wheel dreams come true, and to Skutt Wheels for creating such an incredible wheel. So if you've been in the market for a new wheel, I can't recommend this Skutt wheel enough. They have 3 different kinds: the Prodigy, the Classic, and the Legend. I have the Classic. Go to claykingceramics.com for the best deals and the best shipping on all of your pottery equipment. And thanks so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. Any questions, I will answer them. Thank you.